Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Merci de vous rassembler en grand nombre ce soir. Je vais commencer par me présenter. Donc, je suis la directrice de la bibliothèque et des événements communautaires. Thank you for coming. And I would like to start by introducing Mayor and Council. So tonight we have, obviously, Mayor Christina Smith. We have Elisabeth Roux, conseillère Elisabeth Roux. Nous avons le conseiller Jeff Chamy and Councillor Conrad Pert, conseillère Anitra Bostock, Councillor Mary Gallery, Councillor Matt Aronson, hello, and Councillor Kathleen Kez. Hello. So now je vais passer le micro à Madame la mairesse.
Thank you, Julianne. Bonjour tout le monde, bonsoir. Je suis tellement contente d'être avec vous ce soir. Last year we weren't able to host this. Do I need? Don't move. Just don't move. Do I really need this?
No.
No. Okay, how do I turn it off? I'm going to hand it back to you. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. Last year we weren't able to gather, so I'm so thrilled that we're able to gather on the second night of Hanukkah with Rabbi Shire and Rabbi Grushko, and Rabbi Rahel is somewhere here in the crowd, I think, or coming. Anyways, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm excited that we're inching a little bit back to normal, and to be able to partake in this celebration of life is always a highlight for me. So I'm going to hand it over to Rabbi Shire, who is going to begin the evening for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Smith. Thank you to the members of council for welcoming us to City Hall once again. And it's a wonderful honor for our community to be here. One of the major areas of pain in the pandemic was solitude, was isolation, was the inability to connect, and of course we've compensated in so many ways, and Zoom has become such an important part of our lives, but nothing compares to being with other people, to celebrating these great moments. We're going to light the Hanukkah candles in a few moments, but Rabbi Grushko and I are going to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about the story of Hanukkah, and we know what the weather is like. We're suffering also. Don't worry, we'll make it quick. But just to talk the story, there are really two miracles in the story that we commemorate, and the idea of Hanukkah is we light the candles facing outside to make sure other holidays we celebrate inside, but Hanukkah we put that menorah, we put the Chanukiah right in the window to make sure everyone can see it, because we're so proud of this. The story took place about 2,200 years ago in the land of Israel, which was ruled at the time by the Greeks. There was a ruler whose name was Antiochus, who oppressed the Jewish people and made it so that they couldn't observe Judaism in the way that they wanted. There was a group of heroes, a group we call the Maccabees, who fought back, and the very few were able to conquer the many. And the first miracle is the miracle that they were victorious. And it was against all odds, and no one would have predicted it. But those few, led by Judah the Maccabee and others, they were able to achieve what was really impossible. That was the first miracle. The second miracle was that once they came to the Holy Temple and they saw that it had been destroyed, they thought that really that was it. That was the end of it. And they needed to light the menorah, because that's an important part. We light it back in the Holy Temple. They would light it twice every day just to make sure that the menorah stayed lit, and they looked for the oil, because the oil had to be special pure oil, and they couldn't find it, but they looked and they found enough oil for one day, and it lasted 8 days. And that's the second miracle of Hanukkah, is that little amount of oil lasted forever, lasted for such a long time. The third miracle of Hanukkah is that 2,200 years later, here we are, still celebrating this holiday. That Jewish children around the world and our friends who we invite to join us in these celebrations are still lighting the candles, are still spinning the dreidels, are still playing those games, are still eating those little chocolate coins that we call Hanukkah gelt, are still eating the latkes that we're going to enjoy, are still eating what we call sufganiyot, or the donuts, the special, sometimes jelly-filled donuts, but whatever kind of donut you want, it counts, it's good for Chanukah. The third miracle of Chanukah is not a miracle of the past, but is a miracle of the future. That we're still here, and we have the blessing not to be oppressed and not to be in hiding, but to be able to celebrate in such a beautiful and open way. So that's a little bit about the story of Chanukah, and I'll now turn it over to my friend and colleague, Rabbi Grushko.
All right, so I'm going to add one more miracle. And here's the miracle. See, we know now that oil lasted for 8 days. But the person who lit it on that first day had absolutely no idea, right? And he could have said, all right, I've only got enough for 1 day. I'm not going to bring people together. I'm not going to raise their hopes or try and do things differently, or, take this gamble and then let people down. He said, you know what? I've got enough for a day. I'm going to do it today, and I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. So we're not the first people to live with uncertainty, right? We're not the first people to live needing to make decisions, as our mayor and our councillors and the leader of all our institutions know, to make decisions without knowing what's going to happen next and what's going to be. But I think about that person who lit that flame on that first night, having no idea what would happen. And I think, well, whoever they were, they acted with the spirit of hope. They acted wanting to bring people together, because as Rabbi Shaar said, we know that solitude and isolation is among the worst of all possible things. And they acted with faith. And so we try and bring some of that spirit here together with us in our own time of uncertainty and in our own time of hope. We've got that holy chutzpah, right? To light those candles and to bring people together and to come together in hope. There's one more thing I want to say. I just was passed, and thank you to Rabbi Rachel for it. Our community, our greater Montreal community, just over a year ago, lost a great friend. And that friend was Father John Walsh, who was a giant of interfaith, I'm not even going to say dialogue. He was a giant of interfaith friendship and a giant of all friendship. And Kendra Zellermeyer just got a box of his possessions passed on by his sister, some of his Judaica, and in that box were 2 Chanukiot from the land of Israel. So I thought it would be really beautiful for us to have one here tonight, because this really is a night where we celebrate the coming together of different Jewish communities in Westmount, but also the coming together of all of us, neighbors, in friendship and in love. And so in honor of Father John Walsh and in honor of the holiday, we'll light this Chanukiah as well. This is a very special light that we're sharing tonight, and we'll hear about it in just a moment. Oh, there we go, a little more.
No.
Oh, is that right?
It's a lot of steak.
All right. Shall we?
Yes, please.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem b'azman hazeh. Ma'osur Yeshuati lechana el shameah tikon beit tefilati v'sham toda nizabeah ve'etachim laveah mitzar hamnaveah mizbeach, azek mor v'shir mizmor, Chanukah mizbeach. Where do our friends?
Thank you. The Flame of Hope just arrived today from Austria, from Vienna. The Flame of Hope project was founded to bring healing and justice to some of the darkest places and most dangerous situations in the world. The Flame of Hope is an international peace symbol that unifies the most historical flames around the world into one flame. One earth, one humanity, one flame. Until today, more than 85,000 people across the world have added their wishes and prayers to the Flame of Hope, wishing for peace, justice, and a bright future. In a few minutes, we will invite you to come up and add your prayers and wishes to the Flame of Hope as well. The Flame of Hope has been unified with the following historic flames around the world. The Hiroshima fire, which was taken from the embers of the atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. The legendary spirit flame of Honganji, the largest Buddhist school in Japan, which has been kept burning for 400 years. The Nagasaki flame of commitment, which was brought from Olympia, Greece. The eternal flame of the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem. The flame of peace from the Nativity Church in Bethlehem. The lights of Lourdes from the Grotto of Apparitions in France. And blessings of the Botafumeiro from the Cathedral Santiago de Compostela in Spain. This year, the Flame of Hope will light Chanukah menorahs at synagogues in Tokyo, Jerusalem, and Montreal, to remember and give light to people who have been oppressed in the past and the present day. The flame aims to provide light to people who have been and are being persecuted, and sow the seeds of hope to resolve the world's most challenging issues, including achieving peace in the Middle East, ending human trafficking, eliminating environmental degradation, and stopping religious discrimination. The Flame of Hope is supported by other notable thought leaders, including former Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Yukio Hatoyama, Dr. Arun Gandhi, the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, and Clifton Truman Daniel, the grandson of President Harry Truman. In January 2022, the Flame of Hope will visit the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta, Georgia, to be unified with that center's eternal flame as well. So the Flame of Hope International Committee is honored to share the spirit of the Flame of Hope with the city of Westmount and the Temple Emanu-El-Beth Sholom. And we thank you for welcoming us, and we wish everyone a bright future filled with happiness, peace, and justice for all. Happy Hanukkah.
Amen.
Happy Hanukkah.
We can sing some more songs. I do want to say it's very special that the Flame of Hope is here, and we want to thank you. And some of us are in a conversation every other week with the synagogue in Jerusalem, Kol Neshama. We study, we learn together, and they were doing their night lighting when we met at our lunchtime. And they had a representative of Flame of Hope there as well, who had just united the flame with the flame of Yad Vashem and lit the Chanukah in Jerusalem at Kol HaNeshama. And so there really is this wonderful, bright connection that we share on this night. All right, so shall we sing a little bit?
Yeah. Bottom of page 2.
Bottom of page 2, excellent. Oh,
You can always
Yeah, they're fine. They're tough Canadians.